Hi, I'm Avery Trufelman, and maybe you can relate to this. There's so many great podcasts out there, but it's impossible to listen to them all. That's why I'm so happy to be the host of Hark Daily, a new way to hear the best moments from the best podcast conversations. Each weekday morning, you'll hear 5 captivating clips from amazing podcasts on the day's news, culture, and so much more, all in 20 minutes. And it's totally free. Check it out at harkdaily.com.
I ran 15 as a profitable, busy restaurant, and all the profits powered these kids that we inspired.
I want you
right?
to do it.
So each kid, like in the early days, cost me 25 grand a year. By the time I finished 17 years later, it's like 40 grand a year. But you got to remember, it cost them about 90 grand a year to be in jail.
Of course.
So this is half the price of jail.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Our friend Jamie Oliver returns to the show, and we could not be happier to talk to him about so many things. He's currently appearing on Netflix as part of the Chef Table Legends series. In addition to the Netflix show, he will be launching his 10 Cooking Skills for Lifetime platform in the United States. It's a free curriculum available for schools and organizations that is designed to teach young children all the skills needed to cook. Also on the show, we have a great conversation with Jake Cohen. Jake's a talented cookbook author and most certainly in the modern social media mix. We talk about Jake's really cool new cookbook club with Alstora and his May selection, Ottolenghi Comfort by Yotam Ottolenghi. I hope you enjoy this episode. Jamie Oliver, welcome back to This Is Taste. How are you?
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I love having you here. It's just like fun to hang with you.
Well, I think we cheated because we did hook up last night.
We did,
For
indeed.
a beautiful Mexican.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, Empayón. Shouts.
Yeah, really, really nice. And like the minute all those salsas came out, like a rack of salsas.
I remember.
And those little like chips, it's like I could have just done that all night.
And they rank them in spiciness, and you didn't
I started at the wrong end.
You started at
I went, woohoo!
You started at the hottest end, but I think Alex Tubeck's doing great work there. So Jamie, we've known each other for a bit. I've been able to visit with you in London, and I feel like I knew a lot about you. But then I watched this episode of Chef's Table, and now I feel emboldened to ask you a bunch of stuff that I probably wasn't going to ask you.
Well, that's
but
good.
I learned a lot, and really, my first question is, I sense that you have a deep control of your TV. You've been doing it for so long. You're very creative. What's it like having Chef's Table produce a documentary about you and you not having Final Cut?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird in one sense, but also I'm respectful of like their creative brief has a certain look and feel, the slow-mo, the dramatic music, and I never really thought that they would be interested in me. But I think like under this kind of frame, which is like 10-year anniversary, and they were trying to find chefs that have actually like, I guess, changed the world. And I guess that means lots of things, not just sort of like symbolically or kind of like, people saying, oh yeah, I did a Jamie Oliver recipe, but also like law, government, and I've been pretty busy at that. It was amazing. It's a beautiful opportunity. And yeah, I had to hand over creative control, which was kind of scary to answer your question. But I knew they were good. And the director, Brian, is fantastic. Yeah. And and you have to be a bit vulnerable, I suppose, and just be like, all right, okay, it's a bit like going to the doctor for an MOT,
Yeah. Brian's asking
you're going to have to strip off and kind of like get some serious checking.
You did like 3 hours of interviews for it?
3 hours, like 4 times, 3 hours.
Wait, three, you did 12 hours of interviews?
Yeah, like
those guys are good.
Yeah, and I think like a lot, I mean, Brian just said, dude, like you were hard because like we could have done 3 shows. And like there was a lot on the cutting room floor, and like obviously the diligent, they have a bit of flexibility, unlike TV, but like they have to get it around 55 minutes. Yeah. So I mean, look, I've watched it, I've seen it. It's quite emotional. Like even I'm like nearly bawling my eyes a couple of times. Yeah, because it brings back such a lot of memories, good and challenging.
Well, there's some major themes, and I want to cover a few because I've always wanted to get your take on celebrity because you're so young.
Yeah.
And in the doc, the first 2 years are good, and then the press turns on you, and we know the UK press is tenacious, brutal, and extremely unfair in many ways. And after that second year, I mean, how are you feeling, Jamie? I mean, did you feel like at some point you just want to give it up, go back to being the cook And
I think in the early days, I was so young.
You were.
And I was technically quite astute young because I'd started so young. Like I was literally doing 15 hours a week from like the age of 11.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, I was just so young. I was so excited for life. I was so excited to move out of my little village, which I adored, go to London. London was so full of excitement and opportunity and culture and just like excitement and always something on. And it was complete luck that I got dragged out of obscurity. I was literally just like a skin and bone and a set of lips.
Yeah, the crew shows up and they want the other guy. The other guy calls in sick, and you're the guy.
But I don't know. It just felt like an amazing energy, and Britain was different then. Like, as all our countries go through ebb and flow, and you can decide what you're going through right now. But like, Britain and London was bloody cool at that time. Like the 90s. Like,
when Blur's on the radio?
Yeah.
Like tell me. Like, that's
yeah,
where
it's like Blur, Oasis, like Kate Moss is kicking off with all the supermodels doing this stuff. You've got like, Banksy kicking off and like just art, music, the scene, raving, partying. And like Chef hadn't really had its moment. So the Naked Chef kind of like, I guess, jumped in sort of like halfway through the ride, sort of like, and I was just, I was a 23-year-old boy when it kicked off, 24 when I became famous. And everything that goes with it. So I think I was just naive. Yeah. And then it took me years to work it out. And then about 4 years in, I'm like, oh, like that was, you have the high and then you get an ass kicking and it's like brutal from every direction. And then it's sort of like, okay, I've got a little cord I can, like metaphorically speaking, I can pull this cord now and sort of jettison out of this.
You wanted that. You sought that in some ways. Of course, you liked the celebrity and the money was not bad, but you wanted to maybe not have the press be on the front page of the Mail.
Me and Jules had to make a decision. Like, if we do it, we have to go all in. You can't half do it. And then really the family represents like what we knew food could represent, which is about, just like cooking is a family affair, right? So we just be normal about it. We don't have to push it. Like Jules is quite in the background, to be fair, but she's not switched off. Like she'll turn up if she has to, as will the kids in context, right? And as the kids go into teenage years, they'll switch off for 5 years. Like, no way, because they can't. My kids are still all embarrassed of me.
I get that.
But no, I think like we could have jettisoned out of it, and we decided not to. And I think that's the balance of life, right? You got to make choices and
I feel
stick by them.
Another major theme is how you, at such an early age, in your mid-20s, you intuited that you could create change through your celebrity. And you decided early that, meeting with lawmakers, meeting with parliament, and you've since, over your career, created a really ambitious unit in your whole corporation that does that still to create change. Yeah. Take me back to the earliest memory of realizing you could get somebody on the phone and actually get a meeting, and that was your responsibility now.
And that was a little further down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the concept of, and I think like for anyone listening, like, if I can be remotely philosophical about my slightly strange life, I think like if you saw the Jamie at 10 and the Jamie at 16 coming out of school with no GCSEs, no qualifications, and you looked at my capacity for a deep and meaningful conversation, which didn't exist. I mean, I was a nice kid, but I was just like obsessed by boobs and bits and just talking crap all day, like just like in the kitchen, banter, like, I think like, I've always pushed myself into positions where I've had to learn, had to be exposed, and then had to react to the world that I'd put myself in. And there lies the joy of the decisions you make every day about work, or who you're going to hang with, or who you're not going to hang with, or that trip that you kind of feel a bit nervous about going on, or the really easy trip that you know you're going to like, but is the same old. Like, it's just the beauty of life being a roller coaster, and that you're just able to re-sculpt. Honestly, like I was never a campaigner. I was never political, ever.
Yeah. You didn't run for class president.
No. Literally what happened was, very quickly, And you have to kind of put it through the lens of my eyes, right? I was a dyslexic kid that failed at school.
Yeah.
So then fast forward, I ran out of school, never wanted to come back. But cooking was my thing. And then through complete luck and someone not turning up to go to work, I ended up getting The Naked Chef. And then as a dyslexic, wrote a book that became like a global bestseller. And I went from being literally skint to having £1 million in the bank quite quickly. And it's a really weird way to earn a living because I didn't really earn it. But
Really? You think that way?
Well, it's not like I put in a shift and I get $20 an hour.
You were thinking old Jamie, like the chef who was making like
my dad only made a hard pound. And then the public decided to make me that.
Okay.
And it's like a vote. And it's not like in social media where it's like a like or a comment. Like they kind of mean nothing because they're free. Like when you spend good, hard-earned money on a book, it's like it's almost more than a vote. So when it becomes a vote, then it immediately, even as that young Jamie who's sort of like still green, naive, and a little bit kind of young and cocky and trying to prove himself all the time because I was young, I knew my boss was the public. And that changed everything. And then I found myself within a year really uncomfortable with it. And I know no one ever believes me. Oh, bullshit. You got £1 million in the bank. Just get on me. It's like I was really uncomfortable with it, partly because my dad, I'd grown up in a family business where this is how you make a living. And that's when I set up 15. And 15 was a restaurant that was a registered charity.
Yeah.
I didn't take a wage or earn anything out of it. I spent all of money. I was actually bankrupt for about 3 weeks until I got another royalty check.
Yeah.
So I put about 1.6 or maybe a bit more million pounds. So I don't know. It's like at that time it was like double for dollars, like $3 million into a restaurant that was taking kids largely from prison, homeless, lost, and trained them to be epic chefs.
That's new information that wasn't in the doc. You actually invested your life savings.
Yeah, well, they don't remember. A lot of it went on the cutting room.
Yeah, there you
so
go.
You're getting more.
Well, these crucial details that you actually had this money in the bank that you could have retired from easily, had a life, and you decided to.
I and people say, oh, why did you do it? Why did you do it? Okay, it's because I wanted to, I could, and I did.
There you go.
And I was young and naive, and like I didn't have like the experience of being a bit more conservative or a bit more like gauged. It was just like, no, fuck it, I want to.
Yeah.
Like, so I will.
And how did you feel when you made that deposit of 1.6 million?
Couldn't give a shit. It was just like, because I hadn't earned it in my mind. It was.
So you didn't feel, you felt nothing because it was
I felt nothing because I didn't, it's like, I remember putting my card in the wall. And you could get like, it tells you how much is in there. It went bigger, 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 bigger. I'm like, fucking hell. Ah! And then I remembered it was like, it went back to zero again. And my accountant went, because the designers were arguing with the builders, and the builders were arguing and I'm like, guys, you know, this is not like a restaurant. This is like a charity restaurant. So can we like sort all this out, please? But no, I think from those young kids, the only thing I had in common with them was not doing well at school. And having no qualifications. But like, obviously they came from all kinds of ethnic backgrounds, a lot of single parents, like the kind of, honestly, I'm not exaggerating, the world of crime and drugs and,
I watched the series.
And gangsters.
I watched you on I turn my Samsung on, there's Jamie, and there's sometimes your show that you're on the pier, but sometimes the 15 season is on, and I'm watching it, compelling TV, folks from all over the background.
I honestly, and this wasn't on Chef's table, I've had to pay drug dealers off in cash to take death threats off of my students. Yeah. And like, so it was like gnarly.
Yeah.
And so then the question is, so then my dad's old saying was, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. You ever heard of that?
I have heard that. Yeah.
And I always disagreed. And I totally believe in rehabilitation. I think there's a line, okay? So it's not infinite rehabilitation.
Of course.
But I think for the large majority of people in jail, not including like dark stuff, but like for kids that have taken too many wrong turnings that have ended up in jail, like there are patterns. There's patterns of neurodiversity, patterns of poverty, patterns of single parent homes, and like they kind of start to cluster. And like these kids I took, and if you give them second, third, and fifth chances, and if you inspire them through artisans, so in the world of food, which I know you know more than any, but a great cheesemaker, a great fishmonger, an amazing butcher, an incredible farmer, someone that makes amazing cured meats, amazing wine, amazing oil, like they are always 100% of the time amazing people. They're always inspiring. And the reason that thing is genius is because they're consistent. And what I learned What I learned through 15, about 9 months in, when you take like a roughneck criminal that could break into a car in 30 seconds, right? If you can keep them for 9 months and fill them up with like bubbles of craft and ability and a sense of self-worth and the ability that they're growing quite quickly into something that could be something. Every year I take them to Tuscany to pick olive oil, and every year in the same place, I promise I'm not being romantic, with Giovanni Minetti at Fontodi in Tuscany. You meet him, you see how he's dressed, you see how kind and warm he is, with so much love for my students, regardless. Just because he's associated with 15, he gives this infinite love. You see his wine, and you see his cellars, and you see that it's all about consistency.
Yeah.
And then the kids at that point
start
realizing,
yeah.
It's like, you keep doing these consistent
I mean,
patterns,
it engenders...
and then you keep kind of creating this much more interesting version of yourself that can have the ability to make people feel great and have a craft.
It gives you confidence, right? And you come from a chaotic world. You come from chaos.
And you can make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. I promise you.
There you go. As the summer travel season approaches, I'm excited to let you know about 2 upcoming Taste Travels, our immersive travel series hosted by cookbook authors and me, Matt Rodbard. On June 15th, I will be joining the Mediterranean dish author Suzy Karache in Barcelona for an incredible week of culinary tours, cooking classes, and plenty of wine and jamon. And on September 15th, I will be joining author and baker Mauricio Leo of The Perfect Loaf for a tour of northern Italy. We will visit artisanal Parmigiano Reggiano and balsamic vinegar producers, take a masterclass in the art of panettone, and of course, eat plenty of stuffed pasta and mortadella in and around Emilia-Romagna. Both trips are nearly sold out and closing soon. If interested, write into hello@tastecooking.com and we will get you the information. That's hello@tastecooking.com. I hope to see you on one of our taste travels this summer.
So that gave me the power or madness to think that I had the capacity or stage to.
Yeah.
Everyone was so shocked by 15. I still haven't seen many organizations like it.
Yeah. Well,
it's... And like there's the Delancey Street Project in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Which is set up by heroin addicts and prostitutes and they
the Lee Initiative in Louisville, Kentucky. I have to shout out Edward Lee has something very similar.
Yeah. Homeboy Inc. in East LA.
Oh yeah, I know that one. Yeah, that's good.
And Father G, who helps gangsters get out of gangs and removes tattoos that risk their life, threaten their lives.
Can you bring this to American television? I mean, you're on Netflix now.
Do you know what I just did? This is another bit of gossip that you're going to love. So
some goss.
I did a sizzle for Disney.
Yeah.
And because I do believe in filming these things because you're telling stories and empowering people and it makes them maybe look at things that are in their own hood slightly differently through different eyes.
Yeah.
And we did a sizzle about taking 15 to Las Vegas.
We've talked about it off mic.
Yeah. So the most sustainable restaurant in the world in the most unsustainable city in the world. And the other side of Las Vegas, for better and for worse, is fascinating.
Yeah.
Like there's a really inspiring side of Las Vegas that no one knows about, but there's also like, as with any city or postcode, there's always a dark side and incredible suffering and I found an incredible partner that would
set up a 15 school
that would
Las
allow
Vegas.
me to get into the ghetto and find the right kids and embellish them with love, care, and attention.
This is a new chapter, though. I think being on Netflix...
They passed on it, but it's still my sizzle. I can take it.
And honestly, now that Netflix, you're on this show, and young Americans, many listeners to our show, watchers on YouTube, I mean, they might not know your story. And I think your episode is really going to open some eyes here in the States. Let's get that made.
Yeah, look, I ran 15 as a profitable, busy restaurant, and all the profits powered these kids that we inspired.
I want you to do it.
So each kid, like in the early days, cost me $25,000 a year. By the time I finished 17 years later, it's like $40,000 a year. But you got to remember, it cost them about $90,000 a year to be in jail.
Of course.
So this is half the price of jail. Yeah. And I used to go to court and say like, if don't put him in jail because he's turning up every day. Like, the crime's not such that you really need to worry about. Instead of you wasting taxpayers' money, how about just let me have him? Because so far, so good. He's like, he's smashing the brick.
He's showing up.
So, and I used to get him off. And then the papers used to kick my ass saying I've got criminals off. But
is that right?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, when you do this stuff, you have to have a long view.
Yeah.
And be very clear about that. And the papers, as long as you don't lie to them, they do learn in the end. But of course, for the first 2-3 years of 15, they were very cynical about it.
Yeah.
But after 7 years, they can't say the same cynical stuff.
If you're still open.
Well, they just meet a kid. And I look, I'm a white kind of middle class boy from a village. Like, there's certain things I can't say with authority. But when you get a kid from the ghetto that we used to be astute at selling drugs, and getting their money back through violence, when you can see them break down a whole lamb or like, you know, like cure a salmon or create an incredibly delicate dish with the most robust, strong hands, like, then that speaks volumes. So, like, after a while, I didn't have to defend myself because the students did it for me.
I toured your office. You showed me a whiteboard that was filled with ideas that you were petitioning Parliament. And you have a vision board literally in your office about how you want to change the UK foodways and food system. What's on the board for 2025? I haven't been there in a couple of years. What are you really thinking about right now in terms of change?
Yeah, so sort of like, to get your listeners to sort of understand. So I have like a dream board of things. So look,
I love it.
Here's through my weird little head, right? So there's like a hierarchy of things that are important, right? So if you're looking at child health, there's a hierarchy of what's important to get done first, but that doesn't matter because you have the government and there's a hierarchy of what they will accept from the original hierarchy, right? And then there's a press one of where the press, what they're willing to talk about. And it might have nothing to do with what's number one on the actual child health hierarchy. And then there's the public. So there's 4 pillars here. And you can't make change unless you take the public with you. And so it's really tricky. So I have to sort of dream of the initiatives that we could or should do. And then once we've implemented some campaign, some documentary, some storytelling, then we'll take that and that will go into what we call consultation with government. So they'll basically like check that they're not going to get in trouble for doing the right thing and how much grief they're going to get for doing it. And then you have implementation. So that's stuff that's actually getting done. So it's slow though, bro.
I mean, the US is no quicker, my friend. The
US is more conflicted than the UK. Like your powers of business are much deeper ingrained and much more vocal and
I mean, there's a whole libertarian movement that doesn't want any government interference, and there's that government should be small and ineffective, right?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because my passion really is truth. So in a contemporary forward-thinking democracy, like my belief is that regardless of what we say about our public, and I know the public often represent all kinds of things, but like I think if you give people good, clear information, they often make good choices.
Yeah.
Often, not all the time. There's plenty of room to be like wild and have fun and stuff. But if you give
a little stupid.
Yeah, but if you tell the truth and give them good, clear information, they often make good choices. And if you lie to them consistently or bullshit them or kind of like just play with, so that's why even things like labeling and packaging in the food chain.
Yeah, you've done work around that.
Yeah, well, there's loads to be done. We still haven't got the basics done.
Right.
So, so the fact that you could say something's healthy when it's not, the fact that the cereal aisle is really the cake aisle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, cakes never lied to you.
Right.
A piece of cake's never... you always knew that cake was lardy and you loved every bit of it. And when you go for the second slice and you shouldn't, you're like, should, but couldn't, but it's wrong, right? So there is there's a conscious there. But when you've got some like posh granola that's like looking really healthy, like it's going to make you live. I'm living forever. Oh my God, but it's just cake.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a long way to go.
Tell me about, you did the sugar tax, right? Yeah. And that's something that you should be credited for.
I'd say it was genius, to be fair.
It was brought up in New York City a decade ago, and it was quickly pushed back by a lot of powers, and it was clearly thrown off the ballot or the measure. But is there a new sugar tax for you? Is there something that you feel that you can really act on right now?
I mean, like, I mean, actually, in the UK, they're extending the sugar tax from sugary sweetened drinks. So just to give your listeners,
Yeah, please.
So basically, it was the fastest reformulation of sugar in the world.
Yeah.
So we did one documentary and told the truth, and then we turned it into a campaign that we ran, and the public decided to sign this petition, so it forced debate in Parliament. And that Parliament then brought it up with the people running the show. And then what happened was one guy in government that was in charge of the purse strings went rogue and basically did the tax at the last minute.
Oh, wow.
And but it forced the fastest reformulation of sugary sweetened drinks in the world. Bearing in mind that's the single largest source of sugar in our kids' diet.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. And it created all kinds of nuances that were quite interesting. You'd have CEOs of sugary drinks companies that would do it really quickly. And because they did it really quickly, then all the other CEOs would gang up on them.
Oh, wow.
And then they knew how I felt. So that was interesting, having essentially the enemy become part of your alliance. But now we've just extended it to milk drinks as well.
Amazing. That's a big part of the diet.
Yeah, but what if actually from a business point of view, because people are listening to this and go, oh, it's just worthy, healthy shite. And actually it's like...
reformulation is great.
Yeah. But let me tell you, the way we did it was there was gears of tax so that you could always improve. But what it did was make all the drinks companies have more choice. So more fruit juice drinks, more water drinks, more milk drinks, and therefore make their portfolio bigger, which therefore made their businesses more sustainable. And actually they sold more product and made more money that year selling less unhealthy shit. So do you know what I mean? So every time they talk about doing good is bad business, it's absolutely wrong. Every time I've done something, it's been good business. So, obviously what I'm trying to say is the voices and power of the big businesses, their instinct is that progress is the enemy, but that is proof.
Progress is capitalism, and capitalism creates a better margin and more sales, the top line.
Yeah.
And it is
and for the investors and the shareholders, it's a more sustainable, futuristic business. So, but to answer your question, I think the next one is to make it compulsory, or whatever the right word is, that every child leaves school at 16 knowing 10 recipes to save their life, know the basics of nutrition and how to budget, whether they're going to be rich or poor in the future, so that they can look after themselves. And I see it as a life skill that's essential. I don't think it's a luxury. I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's romantic. I think it's essential. Yeah. And if you look right now in Britain, and I know it's the same in the States, if you look at the carnage and chaos that's out there, it's through diet-related disease and obesity and the cost of ill health and debt and the inability to manage cash or invest or like compound invest. So I'm trying to work with an expert, or I'd like to work with an expert in the UK to make both an actual subject in school.
Is like a financial planning part of the 10 skills?
Yeah, well, look, no one taught me how to set up a bank account. No one taught me the power of investing £20 a year for 40, 50 years, and then like having like a safety net. No one taught me like about insurance and like taxes and like how to be efficient. Like I still haven't got a clue. So I think I just have someone that does it for me. But but I really think if you look, like the poorest people pay the most amount of money for for their phones. They pay the most amount for power when they're putting coins or whatever in their kind of pay as you go electricity. And even if you study basket data on the poorest people, how they buy food, like they don't buy potatoes, they buy mashed potatoes. Like it's the most expensive way to consume mashed potato. Yeah. They're buying it, and they're very brand loyal.
Because it's convenience, and this goes back to the root of your argument and your program is that if you have these 10 basic skills in the kitchen,
you have power, you have choice.
Can actually cook with whole foods, healthier, cheaper.
You can still buy crap, but you have choice.
You have choice, and you have agency.
Yeah.
And how are you engaging with the American education system? Because you have these ambitious plans, and you have, I'm linking to the show notes, the website you've created. I find it very ambitious. I find it very, very cool that you want to come over here and make some noise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not coming over here as a Brit. I'm coming over as a human, really. But I think, but also as I've kind of got older and a little bit more romantic and a little bit more wise about how campaigning works and how government works, it's a sort of weird two-toned approach. Like the reason that I believe
two-toned is a good way to put it.
Well, so first of all, like
we have two tones in the States. You're right.
Humans' capacity for change is very low. People hate change. Governments hate change.
Yeah.
So there's that against us. But also, humans only tend to really, really react quickly and fast, which we have proved over history, when things get really bad. So we're really close to really bad. Like average child health in Britain and America is really bad. Like, the kind of diseases that we're amplifying through bad lifestyle and mainly bad diets is really bad. The carnage and chaos that is happening and will continue to get worse, and the divide between rich and poor, homelessness, and like it's all connected. It's all part of the environment that we live in. So it's almost like that old saying of the pain of change. No one likes change until the pain of not change is worse than change itself, right? I don't know if I said that correctly.
I think we can pick it up and edit. No.
So,
just kidding.
No, basically, no one likes change until the pain of not changing is worse than change itself.
Okay,
right. So, what I'm trying to say to you is the best thing on my side at the moment is the fact that things are so bad.
Yeah.
So I think we're at a pivot point in the next sort of 7 years. At the same time, I think AI is going to be really interesting, and it's going to make us reimagine school and hopefully re-love teachers and re-support teachers. But I think we're going to have to do things differently. And I think that the school of the future needs to have not just nurturing and nourishing the mind, but nourishing the body and the planet central to learning.
Yeah.
So, if you've got kids 180 days of the year, as you do in America, and they're going to have a breakfast and a lunch, it might as well be good.
Yeah.
And if you teach them 10 lessons to save their life, 10 cookery recipes, 10 recipes to save your life, which is essentially making American kids streetwise about food, where it comes from and how it affects their body. You can teach history way better through food, geography through food.
Yeah, because you'll have
math,
that compulsory
science,
education, and you'll be able to link
environment,
it back.
Sustainability, all through food. So
just teaching farming.
I think, and if you were to sort of and look, we used to work with Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, right, in proving that teaching and empowering kids about food, where it comes from and how it affects their body, proving that it actually would make more money for your country. It's better for GDP. It makes you more productive, less people off sick. So, the science is there.
Yeah.
The ethics is there. The potential for amplifying American culture, because it's all around food, right?
Of course, and then that's
it's
a
all
major
there.
piece there.
All the bits are there.
I mean, how many people want to be a chef when they're in 8th grade? What was it in the 80s, 90s?
Yeah, or just
under 1%. Now it's 10 to 15% of.
How many of the best moments in American culture happen with food around it? Nearly all of it. So I think everything's kind of roughly in place, but we just need it to get worse to get better. And I only say that with a little bit of wisdom on my side. But I think what we can do is get organized. And so 10 lessons, for instance, I just made it really easy for schools or after school clubs. It's just free.
Yeah.
It's just free. We write it for the teachers or the guardians, make it really easy for them. We give them videos, we give them pictures. We kind of, we'll do incredible competitions.
So school administrators and teachers
just sign up.
Yeah,
we'll put a link on.
It's very clear.
Your links, and it's it's free. And it's and then as what I realize is that teachers feel quite unlistened to in the matrix. So when they message us, we respond really quickly, and we do listen, and we tweak our courses. So we're in 500 schools in the UK, but I'm growing fast. But we did a test last year in LA.
Yeah.
Hence launching it this year to anyone.
Yeah, I love that. I want to switch gears. You have another major theme, and it's something that you're very open about in the documentary. In 2019, your restaurant group went into administration bankruptcy here in the States, and it's a tough time. And you clearly, it was painful to lose this restaurant that you just talked about. All the money you had invested went away. And I mean, Jamie, what in 2019? And I ask this question because we have a lot of folks in the industry listening to the show, like chefs and operators, and we talk about cost of goods. We talk about tax disparities and payroll tax. In 2019, what was the biggest hurdle for you that caused you to have to make this really difficult decision?
So we were basically running the most incredible business for I'd say 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, it was always going to die. I just didn't know it. So we kind of powered through. It was basically it was a mid-market Italian restaurant, incredible ingredients.
Yeah.
lots of direct buying from farmers. So there was efficiencies on both sides, but loyalty on both sides and like quality on both sides. We trained really hard with staff, so we hardly lost any staff. Like, it was incredible. We literally took pot washers and made them head chefs over sort of like 5 years. So loads of training. But we had purchased or rented sites, and we just kind of, after the initial success of like 3 or 4 restaurants, like, we're killing it. I think, like, I didn't realize there was an arrogance that I didn't know about, frankly, where we were just paying 30% over the odds for rents. And like,
it was a real estate issue.
Yeah. So, and then in the UK, we had rates that were based on the rent, and that went up 40% over 2 years. And then at the same time, there was like the kind of Uberization of food. So the high street across the country had about 16% decline. So then we had all these peach sites with less people walking past them. Yeah. And everything was kind of being sort of digitized, but we couldn't retrospect. We had real kitchens, so we couldn't just have bike riders coming in and picking up our food and like taking it everywhere. So
you missed the...
So we died over about 3 years, and it was very painful. But the truth is, I mean, what I've learned is that, and this is a tough one for chefs because they're often very emotional, very creative, as I was. Like, now I know that you only have permission truly to be creative once you've got like the belt and braces and like the ship built right. You know, your labor model needs to be correct. Like, your rent needs to be malleable for shit times. And you've got to have a little bit of like stretch, and we had none. So because we were all about ethics, like other businesses, because I knew when I went down, others would. So about literally 6 months after me, like another 5 like people similar to us went down. But I got to a point where I can't go from selling sustainable fish to save a bit of money, or like you know, beautiful free range meats to like filthy shite. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't go from caring to not caring to like save the business. It's like we were dead. So we were like basically like a bit of a weather vane for everyone else. And of course, it went into a recession after that. So that was tough. But look, I feel more rounded now as a restaurateur. I feel more rounded now as a businessman. I mean, there's nothing more brutal than having everything lost.
Did you think about packing it up? I mean, at 2019, that would have been a time when you could have just not gone back into the restaurant industry. You could have, I mean, your whole production company almost went under. Yeah. And all your employees.
Yeah. I mean, on the media side, that was always separate. So that was never risk. No. But
that's good. Okay.
But it was, look, my home is the restaurant. I grew up in a restaurant. I grew up above a restaurant. My language to thrive was the restaurant. And honestly, like, the business we created, like, all the hard stuff we got right. And, you know, and I'm happy to talk about it as well, because I never took a wage or a dividend. So I never made anything over
the hard stuff is like the culture you created, but the easy stuff was just signing that lease, right? Is that what you're saying?
I knew I had to come back, but I also knew the press would be brutal. So I think we did a pretty good job of coming back with Catherine Street. I mean, this is the food of my childhood. Like, it's that kind of comforting food that makes you feel really good. And it's been really beautiful bringing it back. But I think also it's important in life to dust off and crack on and not complain. And, but I mean, obviously for many nights, I reevaluated how, when, why, what could I have done differently? Like, what did I do?
You still regret those decisions before 2019.
Yeah, but some of them are like, some of the decisions around leadership are really hard. It's a bit like parenting. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, like, you can get being kind wrong. Do you know what I mean? If you incentivize people well and you think, oh, well, I'm a great boss, that was really good. But then if you do it the wrong way, you can create monsters that are just trying to work for that incentive rather than you, which you should be the brand and the customers. Yeah. So you can make massive mistakes by being kind. So you got to be leadership's tough, like, because it's really you don't want to create opportunities for oxygen to turn into monsters. Do you know what I mean? Like you want everything to be about the customer.
The incentives need to be aligned with your core values.
It has to be the customer. Yeah. And if you skew someone getting a divvy up because they've got, like, you know, 3% of something that's worth 180 million quid, like, you're going to create a monster. Yeah. Like, because they've already spent the money, by the way. Yeah. They've already spent the money. They bought the house. They've literally about to buy the jacket. So like you just how you bring your team along with you. So like it was a massive masterclass for me to like. I thought I was so smug in like being nice and creating cute little kind of B Corp environments, and it was lovely. But like you can get that wrong. So it's just like it. I'll have another go before my time's up. And I think, and it's not about greed or scale. It's what it is. It's about like, it's really, really important that you show the industry that mid-market.
You mean a restaurant beyond Catherine Street?
Yeah.
You want?
I have to do something that's multiple site again. If I could tell you the energy by having hundreds of chefs engaged, focused on the same North Star, like having a culture of not just how you employ, but how you treat the team, but also like, you know, when you've got amazing dry plucked chicken that's like a rare breed from one farm and everyone else is cooking the old regular shit, and like you've got like your stuff's getting crispier and tasty, like it's like it gets geeky, like you start getting passionate about tomatoes from a specific place in a tin making a better sauce, you know, even if it's going on a pizza, like there's a kind of another Jamie that's sort of really boring, like gets nerdy, but like you can wrap that all into multiple sites. But I think my next passion and challenge when I do it is a hybrid of what I learned doing Jamie's Italian, and what I learned in 15. And as obvious as it sounds, it's all about talent and it's all about staff. So if you admit that most chefs are skint, and if you admit that it's impossible to save enough money to get a bank loan to start your own restaurant, then what I would like 15.2 to be, and my multiple site 0.2 to be, is some kind of, how would you use Jamie Oliver? Well, use it for a bit of clout to let me do supply chain and all the health checks and all the kind of geeky science stuff that makes sure that we're getting the best stuff from the best place and gets it to you like in a really efficient way. Let me kind of like get customers through the door as helpfully and effortlessly as possible, and then make you a partner. So I think the next model will be almost like a hybrid partnership
and offering equity to some employees as they rise up. I think that's a model that we see in the States a lot.
So if you think about what I created, and I never took a wage or a dividend, right? So basically I ran a charity for 15 years, right? That's 13 years. That's the way I look at it now. So like, okay, well, if we go again, how about actually we invest in people that living in their neighborhood, right? Didn't come to that neighborhood, like get talent in that area so they stay in that area, and just concentrate on amazing, incredible mid-market, good value food that's completely consistent and predictable and you can rely on.
What's the timeline for this?
I'd like to do it in the next 2 years, when we slightly hopefully get out of this weird time at the moment.
So 15.2 and then a Jamie's Italian, which is like a wide scale. Like
I like the idea that I work for my chefs, not they work for me. It's a really good energy. And then I can kind of be like, it sounds wanky, but I don't mean it to sound like the Pied Piper of the brand, the values, keep us all consistent, keep us all honest. But I think the idea, if I can look after them, then I think they'll look after me. And I think then, and again, it sounds really cheesy, but then we can look after the producer.
It's not cheesy. It's real. I'm going to call you out. It's not cheesy. It's not. It's real, and I appreciate what you're saying.
I kind of half got there. I half got there. And all this, like the experiment, genuinely the experiment was, could you get Michelin level ingredients into mid-market dining? That was the experiment, honestly, right? Yes is the answer. Yes.
I mean, getting the price point right, too, and the cost of goods.
Strategic buying, direct buying, and clarity on growth and how they could be part of that. But all the hard stuff I got right. And all the old-fashioned stuff I got wrong. So when I do go again, I promise I won't get that.
We have a few minutes left. I'm like, Jamie, you're good. You're good on the drums, man. Like, what's up with this? Like, I didn't know this. Like, there is a scene in the documentary, and again, it's on Netflix. Check it out. There's 4 new episodes. I have a favorite. I think it's clear that you practice.
Well,
you have that set at your home.
Yeah, I don't practice enough, really.
But what's your routine like?
As in, what does that mean?
Like your drumming routine. Are you going out there in the morning before the day starts?
No, I need to. It's something weird. So I drummed since I was 11.
Yeah.
And I love to drum. and it's like I feel like I can express myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, ever since my nan died, she left me piano, and I've just been trying to get good at the piano.
Well, you have a music room. You have like all sorts of gear.
Yeah. So I play the piano really badly, and I should be spending more time doing my drums. But I guess it's the kind of example of what I was saying earlier, like push yourself to sort of learn new things, learn a language. 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
10 minutes a day doing something you don't want to do is super powerful if you do it every day. If you just do it once, it means nothing. But so I think, but the drumming I love, and it is a good workout.
I could tell you're sweating up a little bit. I saw you a little bit of spits there. Okay, so UK, like the home of some of our legends of drumming, is it John Bonham or is it Keith Moon? Do you have a preference?
Do you know what I mean? Like Keith Moon was always like very good. But I have a favorite now.
Okay,
Yusuf Days.
Yusuf Days. All right.
You look up this dude, Yusuf Days.
Yeah.
I think I'm dyslexic, but I think it's like YUSIF, something like that. He wrote an album with a guy called Tom Misch in lockdown called, I think it's My Kind of Music.
Okay.
It is the most badass.
I'll check.
The beats, oh my God. Like, and also, because I know I could never do those beats because the ghost notes and stuff he's doing is so annoying.
Oh, ghost notes. You're going there, man.
But no, he's just doing stuff that I'm like, the body can't do that, really? Is that possible? Oh my God. But also, like, some humans are like the coolest. Like, he can put a bin liner on and he'll look cool.
Yeah.
And like, so his outfits, but it's really, because normally, normally the drummers are in the background, like literally no one cares. But so his band, it's like Yusuf first. And check out that album, it's very good.
I love the plug. Jamie Oliver, this has been fun. Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Jay Cohen, welcome. This is Taste. How are you, man?
Hi, I'm great.
It's great to see you.
I know.
I'm excited to hear about your new cookbook club. But first, I have to ask, where are you going out in New York? What are your spots right now? What's the rotation?
So maybe it's a controversial opinion, but like, I don't want to go out for dinner. Like, I'm just like I want to be home for dinner.
Yeah.
I'm a lady who lunches. I'm a lady who breakfasts.
Yeah.
I'm someone who, like, I'm all about the daytime spots right now.
Yeah.
Always have, always will be. So right now, I actually have this one routine where I bring all my friends, literally just led. I think it was like, we had like 15 people in our crew last weekend. And we start at Booba Bareka's.
Yes.
New spot. My best friend, Ben Gingy. Absolutely exceptional, from the team behind Brett's Bakery, as well as Ben, who's just such a brilliant chef.
Will you intro me to him?
Yeah,
because I want to talk to him about those lines.
I got you. He also has an incredible cookbook coming out.
Oh, amazing!
Because here's the thing: you want to hear I am cookbook author is probably second. First, I'm matchmaker.
Yeah.
So what I do is literally all my friends get introduced to my best friend, Sarah, who's also my literary agent. So now she reps me, she reps Ben Gingy, she reps Benny Blanco, she reps all these people, because like if I meet someone's like, oh, you want to do a cookbook? Here's your girl.
Okay, you get your cut at least? You get your like percentages from these?
Of course not. It's not about that.
I know,
It's about the community.
No, it's great.
Yeah. But so then we start at Booba. And then we walk over to Hani's, to Miro and Shilpa's bakery.
Yeah.
Miro and Shilpa Uskokovic. Miro is obviously the pastry chef of Gramercy Tavern. Shilpa is, I think, and I say this constantly to her, and she always like rolls her eyes. She is the most exciting thing in food media right now. She is my favorite recipe developer. I think the work she does at Bon App is exceptional.
Yep.
She's the person who keeps me on my toes and wants me to be like a better recipe developer.
I love Shilpa, and we had her on, and both those guys on recently on our show. So I'll link to that episode in the show notes. Love this like 1-2 punch. You're going 1-2, and then you're going home.
Yeah. I mean, by that time, I will say there were moments, and this is like, we were talking about this a little bit before we started. Some of my friends will sometimes come straight from the club to the bakery. Yeah. And that's like the way that we end the evening. Yeah. And it's the best.
What's the club rotation in New York right now? What's good?
Well, depends on the vibe. Yeah. I'm someone who can do just about anything. More often than not, I'm at Basement.
Yeah.
Which is a techno club underneath the Knockdown Center in Maspeth, Queens.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, funny enough, I'm going tomorrow. And we'll probably end the night. I promised Zoe Kadad that we're going to go to Elbow. So I'll probably go straight from the club to Elbow.
So like an 8 a.m., 7 a.m. catch up. Yeah. Okay, so how do you prepare for a duration session at Basement food-wise? Like, what's your cooking routine, like 4 or 5 p.m. right before you're going to hit the club?
Interesting. it's simple. It's
Yeah.
like really like simple proteins. I'm big on what my best friend refers to as slop. Like I'm big on
Yes,
slop
yes.
cooking. So my mornings are typically some type of like I make this oatmeal chia porridge slop that I mix in cottage cheese with, and it's like 50 grams of protein. And then in the evening, I do a lot of other slop. So what I do is I make almost like a sloppy joes type thing.
Yeah.
And then what I'll do is I'll roast Japanese sweet potatoes and I'll just smash them on a plate and spoon over the slop. And there you go.
So the slop is like the protein, right?
The slop is the protein.
And then you've got like legumes and like potatoes.
No, yeah, but I'm not doing legumes before I'm
No.
going to basement. I'm not.
Fair.
That's crazy.
Fair.
That's crazy.
That's
Especially
crazy.
if it's a gay party.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Fair enough. I love this like prep. I feel the idea of the slop cookbook. You could own that.
You know, we've discussed it with my editor. Like, I think there'll be a slop chapter.
Yeah.
I don't think the world is ready. Trust me, listen, it'll be one of those things. I'm always been ahead of my time.
You have been.
I
man.
think that the world's not ready for that conversation of a slop cookbook. So right now we'll start with the slop chapter in my next book.
So
what are
let's-
the next books?
So let's talk about the cookbook club.
Yeah.
You know, your approach to do clubs, I'm sure. What made you decide this was the moment and working with All Store? What was the impetus of that?
So I've known about Eric Servini for a long time. He's obviously an incredible queer like documentarian writer, brilliant man. I'm like, I bake cookies. So it's like when I see people that are truly doing like really incredible work in terms of writing. I've been a huge fan. He also did this show that a bunch of my friends had like acted in. They were like, I don't even know how to describe it because they're like TikTokers.
Yeah.
He had a couple of like cool gay TikTokers in this show he did. So I've known about him for a while. Then he obviously started this with his partner, Adam Powell, as well as RuPaul.
Yeah.
And really like the goal was to help with like places with the book bans of making sure that there was access to LGBTQ books.
Mhm.
And then I started hearing about these clubs because my friends Rob Anderson and Dylan Mulvaney both have clubs.
Oh,
And I
very
started
cool.
Seeing that.
Right.
And then they reached out and they were like, would you like to do a cookbook club? Which I think is so fun because I get those questions all the time. The questions are, where are you eating? What are the pans or equipment you're using?
Yeah.
And what are the cookbooks you love?
Yeah. So you're curating a list every month.
I'm curating a
list,
pick each month
Yeah.
of like, what is the book that you need on your shelf?
Very cool. So you sign up. Tell us about the way it works. You sign up for the
Yeah.
club and you get a book every month.
You get a book every month. You could also sign up and do a book every quarter.
Cool.
And
Like
let's
that.
say like my pick of the month is something you already have. Like you can skip it.
Skip it. Yeah.
It's very forgiving.
Or
and-
buy it and gift it.
Exactly.
Do it that way.
Exactly. Especially if it's one that you love. Like, what better way?
Yeah.
And I think it's fun because a lot of these are authors I know. So there are going to be moments where I'm like, great, all the books, we're going to get signed book plates. So everyone's going to get a signed copy.
Yeah.
Or I'll do a Q&A with them where I'll bring them in because there's this kind of digital community aspect to
Oh, wonderful.
it as well.
I was wondering about that. So you sign up for the club, you get the book, but you also get a little bit of Jake like stream.
Exactly.
Yeah, like
where it's
a-
like we're posing questions. Like, all right, what are you cooking from this month?
I
Oh
like
my God,
it.
this is the recipe that I loved. This is the author. I've kind of have an idea what my next pick will be.
Yeah.
And I'm already be like, no. You're gonna come. We're gonna cook together. We're gonna do all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your first pick. It's a great one. Adelingi Comfort. I had Yodam on last fall when we talked about this great cookbook.
Yes.
It's my favorite, one of my favorites, I
Yes.
think. What made you pick Yodam's book for your first selection?
Well, I thought I wanted something that was relatively recent, kind of a tome, like
Yeah.
something that people really could like get a ton out of.
Yeah.
Also, I'm like madly in love with Yotam, both
Yeah.
in like a professional and personal way.
Yeah.
So it was a really easy pick. And his team, like so many of the people in the OTK and the Olingi Test Kitchen, I
Yeah.
think are such brilliant additions to the world of food media. And when I'm thinking about a book, I say this all the time in press, where it's like the goal when you're writing a cookbook is so many books, and you probably more than me, get every book sent to you every time someone's book. And I will say, no shade, a lot of them are just adding noise.
Yeah.
Like there's not really like unique perspective. There's not like
Fully.
nothing. And all I want to do is add to the conversation and have a really unique perspective where people get to like hear my voice, see my vibe when it comes to cooking, and they're either going to get it or they won't.
Absolutely agree. And I think that the noise is what we have to break through when we're publishing here at Penguin Random House.
Right.
We try to pick the books that are adding to the dialogue and discourse. And this book is really tremendous. I call it a tome as well because OTK, like it's like the Warhol factory of cookbook making. It's creative, but it's very technical. And I want to hear from you some recipes that drew you to comfort, which is really, I think, again, we did this great interview with Yoda. I'm going to link to it. Comfort can be many different things to many different people, and I think he did a nice job to show how comfort is not just like mac and cheese. Like,
and when he's listening to this, all I'm trying to do is get him to come out with me.
Yeah.
So it's like you'll see him at Basement next time he's in New York.
I think you could get him.
I can get anyone to do anything. Don't get it twisted. I know he's coming.
Yeah. So what are the recipes that you're really linking up with?
The one that I really loved, which is something that's so kind of big in my normal rotation, is I love a one-pan pasta, and they have this caramelized onion orecchiette with hazelnuts and sage. And it's an example of how you could take something so simple as a one-pot pasta, but then like the little additions of like frying crispy sage and reserving that, using that oil to cook it down, the hazelnuts, everything comes out better. It's still a quite simple process, but you still have that touch of Ottolenghi fanciness that to me is exactly what I want to see in terms of comfort food that's quick, in addition to the fact that's like one step above the basic. And then there's this other recipe where it's like hummus, by the way, of South of France. So it's like a chickpea and fennel puree.
Oh, I love that. It's good.
And so it's, again, that same touch. And something that I love when I'm developing recipes is it's reminiscent of something that's so popular in your Rolodex, and yet it's just right of center.
Yeah, because that's the way he thinks about his recipes at OTK. There's always going to be some creative twist on it.
Yeah.
Or it will be really, really clearly a link to the heritage, and it'll be explained in detail.
Yeah.
Which is why I love that book. It starts May 1, right? May 1st?
Yeah.
So all May, you can go to where can we sign up for it?
I think it starts now. I don't. Again, I'm the brains, not the brains. I'm the
brawn.
The brawn. I'm the brawn, not the brains. It starts right now, so you can order it now. I think this is the first pick, and you continue to do it. Also, if you order now, I believe it's like discounted, so the first book is like $5.
No way. That's
Let's have a deal.
Like, let's circle that. So $5.
$5.
That's an incredible opportunity to get this book for $5.
Yes. And then, like, the best part is for every new book club subscriber, a book is donated in your name to LGBTQ plus youth in states that are facing book bans.
Incredible.
Which is such like a good mitzvah to add on to the fact that you're getting the best books. And it's all available at alstora.com.
Great.
Really just like, I love it because it's going to be both new, like, flashy titles, but also there'll be times where I'm just going to like pick one of my favorite classics that a lot of people may have never heard of, but I go to every day.
I love that idea that you're going to do new releases, maybe some older books that are classics.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Congrats on the book club. This is very cool.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Great chatting with you, buddy.
Yes.
This is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.